past the old familiar room.
This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently.
To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. He looks fine. I don't remember. Oh, I gave him like a really bad voice. It doesn't suit him.
Oh, the lawyer. Hello again.
Should I change it?
Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil?
Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I am so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things, you'd obviously try to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him.
Dang it, how did we miss him?
Oh, Kazuma beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all of this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all those years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well.
You mean, about your dismissal?
Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as a stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could do to help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but... It wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago! It wasn't me! I swear it! I swear it's true!
Oh, Mr. Vigil!
I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I want someone to tell me what I should have done. Well, it's been 10 years. There's no point in telling you what you should have done. You can't change the past, dog. But we'll listen. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scarlet Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. He'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf. No, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specific location and make a little hoo-ha. Hoo-ha. What? Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. What are these examples of hoo-has?
So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident?
Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around it and was very vocal about my presence.
But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed frosters!
Yes. So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud. That doesn't make any sense. That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes.
Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though.
And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. It was at midnight on 17th June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution, at midnight. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it?
Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was.
Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in and out of that place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. What is it? Ministry of Foreign Affairs doesn't get checked, blah blah blah. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? I thought the whole like thing about the okay. Yes. Or yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in the local cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffins containing the bodies again. Why is she pouting about that? When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. Oh, he wasn't the one responsible for he wasn't responsible for the execution itself. He was just there, nearby. On that occasion, once I had the confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. Oh.
No!
Someone didn't do their work, or didn't double check their work. I didn't think any of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived.
So, you mean the coffin contained?
Yes. I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery.
Presumably, there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long.
So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free.
But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder?
I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. Obviously, you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it?
It was a time of delicate diplomacy, when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that the potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly.
The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman, and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. He's probably just talking about Clint. Something happened with Clint. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. His will? Where is it? As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds at the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. His last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back.
But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh?
Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable.
And what was the exception you mentioned? To the personal effects he was allowed?
That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper.
So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what happened to him?
Yes, that was the long and the short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the papers behind his back and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please, please, turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. This is so weird. The voice I've given him is fucking ruining everything, I swore again. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet. Alright then. But what's on that paper? Is this the Morse code thing? No. Oh! A lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. Is this isn't a note that was found in the... No, who was that by? Who was involved in that case? Oh, the, freaking Buttercup man? Butterscotch? Benedict's egg, I think? Whatever his name was. Wasn't there, like, a note in a music box? That was the thing with the Morse code that I was deciphered? Is that it? Or unless it's an actual will and we just don't know what it is yet. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to have vanished without trace. What? Oh, what do you mean it vanished?
It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will.
I was the only person who saw Sogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution.
Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak.
The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see.
The poor Kazuma somehow...
Did Kazuma get the will? No. You said it disappeared, right? And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects. The will, I mean. That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming. It cannot have disappeared completely. Eh? Why would he know about it? Why does he know about it?
That doesn't quite make sense though, does it?
In what way? Yeah, why would he know about it?
Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prisoner governor know to look for it?
Oh yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Maybe Caden was the one who gave him the paper or pen. Only he did refer to it as a will. What he said was... the Asogi papers. The Asogi papers? I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten about all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. It means we gotta make a visit to Caden and ask him about the Asogi papers. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Avi will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again.
But what will become of you now?
Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This is all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Is Mrs. Vigil gonna pay us? Oh, what? Before you go, there's just one thing! Oh, you scared me. You made me sweat. Yes? What is it? The Asogi papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. What? No, I have to! Presumably for some good reason. I have to! It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered... well... it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. What? No, we have to talk to Caden about them. No, screw you! Some sort of will against an Asogi pen just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder. Perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about a document than Cosmo's father left behind.
It would be Mr. Vigil's governor. Then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison.
I'm assuming there's nothing to examine. I don't really want to examine anything. Well, I'll look at this and see, just in case. This must be the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Tendency to jump from windows. Remember to place cushions at base of wall outside. Aren't we a story up from the ground here?
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Vigil.
Can't help feeling that there's a better solution to the problem than a cushion, though. Finding something you'd lost isn't always a happy experience, it turns out. Pursuing the truth can be very dark business sometimes, can't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it can.
Okay, I guess that's all I'm going to hear. Probably should have given him a room that doesn't have windows, possibly, but... you know. So the prison... no, not the prison. The prison governor's office. Where are you at, little... I was about to swear. Okay. Oh, man. I don't... no voice for you. I don't... he's Scottish, right? What is a Scottish person? If you had the chance to change your fate, would you? Oh, back again, are you? Whatever. Yes. Hello. Hey, I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. Whatever, I can't do it. If you had the chance to change your fate, you found a me, Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, that laddie don't work no more. So your case is not what to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get out the wrong idea about that. Oh gosh. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so...
Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the job.
Hey, Gimmer, you can't very well. So how about we handcuff Biscuit? I'm just trying to figure out what it is he's saying. A Kimmer. A Gimmer? A Simmer? You can very well. You can very well. You can. You say very well. You know very well. You know very well, maybe? What does that mean? How about a weird handcuff Biscuit? Did I say that, man?
Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hard as iron too.
Oh god, I can't talk. Oh, what brought you down here today? What you doing here today? What? Oh god. Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Geshin Asogi's cell. You just out and say it. I think it's called the Asogi Papers or something. I like how no hesitation. It was just like Vigil was like, oh, it'd be troublesome if you mentioned it to people, and it's like, okay, and you go to the prison, the office. Hey yo, we looking for the Asogi Papers. Where you at? No, I wanted it to go this way too, but it's funny that like Ryunosuke didn't have any hesitation anyway. There are no say. Gregson's dead is not to deal with what happened at Barkley. Leave the past in the past, laddies. Let's not fool around with irrelevant details. His expression changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Dang it, dog, come on. Throw us a bone. Are you a good guy or not? Come on, talk to us. That murderous botch execution and the whole miserable escape. They were Barkley's darkest hours, eh? Shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had a collaborator on the prison staff, you mean? Hey, for shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Sith, and my chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair.
But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it.
That rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs?
Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet.
You can, actually, but, you know.
When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened, he was so despairing, he jumped out of your office window, didn't he?
I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you not think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't have said otherwise, though, would you? Of course, cannot shun all responsibility myself. Shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that went on with all that at that time now, God. We Gregson having been murdered, and Dr. Sith forbidding us from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Oh, she in jail? Oh, she alive? I forgot. I don't know why I thought she was just written out of the picture. She's of course still alive.
Well, we're not going home empty-handed.
And she had a daughter, right? Is her daughter not allowed to visit her? And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing with not Kimmer. Yeah, take a handcuff or two.
Oh, well, we would say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be me either. I suppose, if there's anybody who might still be keen about what happened back then, it'd be the last from the forensics division, Maria Gori. Right, I meant to bring her up. I meant to bring her up a while ago when we were talking about how Gregson's autopsy doesn't have the time of death. I wanted to be like, we have to go see her at some point. Maria Gori? Hey, Sid's daughter. She didn't have no more, just that one. But the wheeze Byron followed in the man's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Oh gosh. Ah. Weird that her name is Maria Gori. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Mama, what is this?
Where does she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? Dr. Sid's daughter, Maria Gori. We could do a talking to her. Yeah, I want to talk to her. She's a plague doctor. Well, she's not a plague doctor, but she has the mask of a plague doctor. Gori. So, she's Dr. Sid's daughter. But her surname is Gori? Yeah, it's not Stevens, it's not Sid's, it's Gori. Hey, there's some family history, I'm sure. But I didn't get the ins and outs about it. Oh god. She grew up watching her mom work with the bodies of folks who died in strange circumstances. And decided to do the same with your own life. I cannot understand it myself. I'm just having fun here.
Perhaps she was driven by deep respect for her mother.
Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Greg Sin's autopsy, I believe. Oh god, what? Man, I really am having too much fun. Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mom's story about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. What's a funeral march?
Well then perhaps. Her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago.
Hey, I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us. We really need to speak to Miss Gori herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm no happy about any part of this. It took 10 years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you not give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. Nah, man, we got a life to save. I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. Can you just not stay away, no? Leave me alone and then come back here, eh? But what if I want biscuits? Oh, there's still one more thing I need to say. I know you told me to leave, but I still want to ask about this. How'd you come to know about them, laddie? There's not many folks even here in the prison who have heard of those papers. Well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me.
I'm afraid. Our sources must remain confidential, sir.
Herf. You look at him pout. We've been led to believe that the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professor's. Or rather, Genshin Asogi's. Hey, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. My name is not Jimmy. Oh, it's at the end of the silent treatment. But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Hey, no! You're off half a cock there. I think you didn't quite your fact. You didn't quite get your I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. Whatever. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been. Did you take it?
Oh, no, we heard elsewhere.
Oh, he has it, dude! Let me just have a wee walk around in there. I'm sure I can find it. I'm surprised you didn't fucking get rid of it. It's supposedly a weapon, or like it must have some like incriminating info on it. Oh, it's written like written the Japanese manner, like vertically. Hey, here you are. See, I can't read it, but here you go. The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush. Of course, I can't read a word of them Japanese squiggles. But I mind it say, he leaves all of his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. What accent is this? I know it's not like a genuine accent, but like, what is it even resembling from?
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it.
So these are the Asogi papers. Hey, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. After all this what? After all this drama, so that slays the execution. Oh God, those are words I don't know. We sent the man's positions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo. Just in case.
The Asogi papers have been entered. There's gotta be more of it! One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? Those papers, and not to do with Gregson's death. I preferred if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it, considered an order from the highest levels of a government. I understand. I'm about to bring it up in court. I'm gonna bring it out in court. You can't tell me what to do. Let me look at it. There's gotta be something I can expect there. Last will and testament of Genshin Asogi that Vigil claims disappeared from the convict's execution. Apparently, Asogi described it as only but not left. I, Genshin Asogi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London to be delivered to my son Kazuma Asogi in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness I accept my fate in this foreign land and in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Is this fake? Is this fake? There's gotta be more to that. There's gotta be more to that. There's gotta be more. I want to rotate it, but I can't rotate it. Alright. It's time to get out of here then. We gotta go to... Is it now time to go to, Kazuma?